Hello, my name is Deanna Bissonette, an applications chemist here at Biotage, and I will be going through our Atlantic Disc product line today. First, I will begin with our Atlantic discs, which are a part of our solid phase extraction SPE solution and can be used in conjunction with many of our instruments. The types of discs we have for use with our reusable disc holders are C18, high capacity C18, also known as HCC18, DVB, HLBL, HLBM, HLBH, and 8271 pass. We also offer C18, HCC18, and DVB ready discs, which are our disposable disc holder option. The decision of reusable or disposable disc holders solely depends on the preference of your laboratory. The reusable disc holders are great because they can be used over and over, but before each extraction, to prevent contamination, the disc holders must be cleaned prior to reuse. The disposable disc holders are also great because they do not need to be cleaned prior to use since a new one comes from the package each time. Time is saved during the sample extraction preparation because the disc holder cleaning step is eliminated when the disposable disc holders are used. The first SPE disc I will discuss is our C18 disc line, which consists of C18 and HCC18, both in our Atlantic and Atlantic Ready disc lines. These discs are made from C18, of course, which is a silica-based media. It is ideal for extracting polar analytes from aqueous matrices, as well as for specific EPA methods like 525.2, 608.3, and any 8000 series methods, excluding 8270, which we have a special disc for that I will discuss later on in this presentation. Both discs and disc types are made with the same media, but the HC discs just have more media in them compared to the regular C18 discs. In addition to the C18 discs, there are DVB discs both in Atlantic and Atlantic Ready disc lines as well. This media is polymer-based and is also ideal for extracting polar analytes from water matrices, much like C18. However, this media does not require activation prior to sample load like C18 does. DVB media is used specifically with 525.3 and 8000 series methods, again excluding 8270. Next we have HLB discs, which are a hydrophilic lipophilic balanced media that is polymer-based as well. These discs are a part of our Atlantic disc line and come in 3 different capacities: low, L, medium, M, and high, H. These discs can be used with any 8000 series method. When extracting EPA method 8270 and 625.1 samples with HLB discs, it is important to remember that in order to capture all the necessary analytes, that the sample is run through the disc twice. The first time the sample loads, it will be acidic. The neutral and acidic analytes will then be eluted off of the disc into the collection vessel. The water sample must be recollected and basified, and then it can be run through the SPE disc again. Then the remaining neutral and basic analytes will be eluted off of the disc. There is also a one-pass carbon cartridge max detect that collects analytes as well and is eluted at the end. However, HLB discs are a very tedious way of extracting the 8270 625.1 analytes from a sample, so the next disc I will discuss alleviates the 2 passes of the sample through the disc. The last Atlantic disc that we have is the 8270 one-pass disc. You can hear it in the name, only one pass of the sample through the disc. The disc is a mixed mode disc that is used in conjunction with the one-pass carbon cartridge max detect, but between the disc and the cartridge, the analytes of interest from EPA methods 8270 and 625.1 can be extracted from any given sample without having to recollect the acidic sample, basify it, and run the sample through the disc again. The acidic water passes through the disc and the cartridge and goes straight to waste. The neutral and acidic analytes are eluted off of the disc. Then there is an ammonium hydroxide rinse which basifies the media so that the basic and remaining neutral analytes can be eluted off of the disc. Lastly, the one-pass carbon cartridge max detect would also be eluted the same way as described earlier, at the end of the basic elution steps. As mentioned before, we have disposable and reusable disc holders available. The disposable disc holders are available in the 47 millimeter disc diameters. We also have reusable disc holders in the 47 millimeter disc diameters as well. This disc holder diameter is used for cleaner and less heavily particulate-laden samples. If you have samples that are full of sediment, sludge, particulates, and/or dirt, we have a fast flow disc holder option which incorporates a 47 millimeter Atlantic disc in the lower portion of the disc holder, while allowing the use of 90 millimeter pre-filters to help filter the matrix from the water sample prior to filtering it through the disc. As discussed briefly on the previous slide, we have Atlantic pre-filters to help facilitate sample load for those dirtier samples that come in. Atlantic pre-filters can only be used with our reusable disc holders. If there is a bit more dirt in your samples, but it is not an overloaded amount of dirt, then we have a 5 micrometer pre-filter for our 47 millimeter reusable disc holders. However, if you have samples that are loaded with sediment, sludge, particulates, and/or dirt, you will need to use the fast flow disc holders with pre-filters. We offer 90 millimeter 1 micrometer and 90 millimeter 5 micrometer Atlantic pre-filters. If need be, the disc holders can also house glass wool and a fine mesh screen to hold the glass wool down. View the picture here to see how the fast flow disc holders are set up. Thank you for listening and viewing my presentation on Atlantic discs, Atlantic ready discs, and Atlantic pre-filters.